Hello, my name is Jeremy Mesh from Team H, and today we'll be discussing Chapter 13. This chapter focuses on theories regarding time management skills, how to determine if those skills need improvement, and various methods for improving them, and the most common time management pitfalls. Most importantly, it applies those theories to the pharmacy setting as seen in this chapter's scenario. In this scenario, Joe Smart, a newly hired pharmacy intern, just completed his first week at the ambulatory pharmacy at State University Health System. Having worked previously in an independent community pharmacy, Sam's Pharmacy, he wanted to get some hospital experience before graduation. Now he is not so sure. He really liked working with the customers that came into Sam's Pharmacy, but frequently he and the other pharmacists who worked there were so busy that neither had much time to do anything other than dispense prescriptions. His first week at the ambulatory pharmacy was also quite busy. There were many more people working there than at Sam's. He was overwhelmed by it all. During orientation, he received a copy of the policy and procedure manual that detailed the health system's mission, organizational chart. He was very impressed with all this, but could not figure out why it was important to know about the rest of the organization. He was going to be a pharmacist, and as such was only interested in the things that pertained to the pharmacy. Also, he could not understand why the pharmacy staff was so uptight. At his old job, Sam's, the owner, would always notice if an employee was distressed or unhappy. Sam had an open-door policy and was always ready to talk. He really felt that he was part of a team. Joe only saw his new boss, the director of the ambulatory pharmacy, once, and that was at orientation. The pharmacists he worked with were very concerned with showing him the tasks he needed to complete and not much else. Joe began wondering if this was what it would be like to work for a large health system. He remembered that in his management class, the professor talked about working for large organizations, but he did not pay much attention. Joe thought that it was the responsibility of the manager to make sure that things ran smoothly and that he did not need to be concerned with details unrelated to patients' drug therapy. Anyway, he was new and thought that maybe he should give the place more time. In the back of his mind, however, he had this nagging feeling that things could be better, but he just did not know how to get there.
Organizational behavior is defined as the systematic and scientific analysis of individuals, groups, and organizations. Its purpose is to understand, predict, and affect human behavior to improve the performance of individuals, which ultimately affects the functioning and success of the organizations in which they work. Organizational behavior has shifted over time along with the shift of the profession of pharmacy. When the profession began, pharmacists were educated in a less formal manner, typically as apprentices in very small businesses as compared as today, where students spend a minimum of 6 years in formal education before they begin working as a pharmacist, typically for a large-scale company such as a chain pharmacy or a large healthcare system. Organizational behavior becomes far more complex in large organizations that we tend to see more practitioners working in today. With more individuals being employed by the same organization, it is important that there is greater coordination between these individuals. Coordination of tasks is necessary to ensure adequate performance of each individual, resulting in success of the organization.
Why do pharmacists need to understand how an organization works? As opposed to how pharmacies ran in the past, there is currently a much higher level of structure and organization required. Pharmacists used to start out as apprentices and apothecaries. They would then own their own pharmacy and train new apprentices from there. Pharmacists require more education now than they did in the past. Now, more pharmacists are employed in large organizations such as chain pharmacies and manufacturing organizations, which is why they need to understand how an organization works. Obtaining this knowledge will help pharmacists to become a well-rounded professional.
Organizations exist to meet a desired need in the external environment. Organizations can be described as having core values that form a purpose, specific goals, a well-defined structure, and a climate consisting of trust, morale, and support. This is an example of vertical differentiation, a type of organizational chart commonly used by employers of pharmacists to outline the organizational structure to define the flow of authority. At the top, there are stockholders, board of trustees, and the CEO, which holds most of the authority. Gradually moving down, there are the pharmacy managers, pharmacists, interns, and staff, having the least authority. On the other hand, newer organizational structures, like the boundaryless structure, eliminates the chain of command completely, replacing departments with empowered teams, which are quicker to respond to the needs of the external environment, and decisions are certainly made within teams. When designing an organizational structure, the most effective organizations create a structure that revolves around the core values. The factors that need to be considered are differentiation, formalization, centralization, division of labor, unit of command, span of control, and departmentalization.
What are the various types of teams found in organizations and how can they be structured for maximum effectiveness? The various types of teams found in organizations are work teams, parallel teams, project teams, and management teams. Work teams are responsible for producing goods and services. These teams are overseen by a manager or by the employees themselves in a self-managing team. The members of the team are usually cross-trained for maximum effectiveness. Parallel teams utilize members from different work teams to collectively perform functions that the original organization is not equipped to perform. There is little authority on parallel teams. Recommendations are usually made to individuals who are higher up in the organization. Project teams are responsible for producing one-time outputs such as new service or product. Members of this team are also from different work teams similar to the parallel teams. Management teams oversee and coordinate units under their authority. These teams exist at a board of directors, senior management, or department level. Teams should be structured in a way that satisfies the 10 characteristics of an effective team. The characteristics are clear goals, defined goals, open and clear communication, effective decision-making, balanced participation, valued diversity, management conflict, positive atmosphere, cooperative relationships, and participative leadership. These characteristics will ensure that the team is running as efficiently as it can.
I will be discussing how a professional works within a bureaucratic organization. A bureaucracy is characterized by control, hierarchy of authority, the presence of rules, and impersonality. Pharmacists are employees of these organizations and value expertise, self-determination, and care to individual patients, which is referred to as the professional model. Recently, this system has been challenged due to rising drug costs, lower reimbursement, and securing payment for non-dispensing services is difficult. The need to institute the corporate model has taken place, in which the collective needs of the customers and the institutional survival through measures of financial responsibility and operating efficiency are taken into account. A professional values the care of individual patients while focusing on trust-building behaviors and exercising technical competence. In order for pharmacists to find meaning within their work, it is important to share ethical concerns, value pluralism, and have a keen sense of social responsibility. Next, I will be discussing how some of the organizational attitudes and behaviors affects pharmacists' work. An unhappy and unmotivated worker decreases organizational productivity and performance significantly, as well as makes the environment unpleasant and stressful for the other workers. Job dissatisfaction has been found to be linked with an increased risk of medication errors. Research suggests that how closely a job meets expectations, higher levels of autonomy, recognition, job utilization, control over work, teamwork, and communications will be strong predictors of job satisfaction. Organizational commitment is important because it is related to reduced job turnover and tension for pharmacists. They will have access to resources to perform the job, opportunities for advancement within the organization, and organizational support. Job stress is a commonality within pharmacy and can often lead to a phenomenon known as burnout. It is associated with staffing inadequacy, high workload, and high levels of mental concentration and effort over time. This can lead to job turnover, which is a pressing concern for organizations as the decreased productivity is very costly. It involves advertising, recruiting, and training a replacement for the employee that left. Job turnover is increased by inflexible and long working hours, inadequate personal support, older age, and having a major life event such as a death in the family or a new marriage.
How is a leader different from a manager? A manager's job is to ensure that all employees are staying on track and completing all the necessary tasks in order to achieve the organization's goal. This is different from a leader, who is there to encourage and support their employees to set and achieve their own personal goals. In other words, management is about control and power, while leadership is about influence and inspiration. Joe Smart knew that something was wrong with the internal environment of the ambulatory care pharmacy. What he probably noticed was a lack of leadership on the part of the pharmacy director and how the pharmacists were very task-oriented in their behavior and seemed to not find their work meaningful. It may be that the employees of the pharmacy do not feel a part of the health system organizational team and are feeling frustrated by a lack of recognition by others. It seems as though not a lot of time has been spent building relationships within or outside the department. Since Joe is the newest employee of the pharmacy, he is a bit hesitant to get involved, but he may be the perfect person to inquire about the values and goals of the ambulatory care pharmacy and how the pharmacy is structured to meet these goals. This would be a perfect time to examine the culture and climate in the pharmacy to find out why the employees are dissatisfied. Although Joe does not have a leadership position in the organization, he should think about what he could do to improve the environment of the pharmacy. It is everyone's responsibility to make sure that the health care is being delivered to the best manner possible, and unhappy staff members probably are not doing their best. Joe also could work on building relationships with others on the staff. This may help the employees talk about what's going on at the pharmacy. Improved dialogue within the pharmacy and with other stakeholders outside the pharmacy department could enhance a sense of community among the employees. With the help of more experienced employees, Joe could bring these matters to the attention of the pharmacy director. By taking a proactive stance, Joe is developing leadership skills that will serve him throughout his career.